I love everything that I offer. I'm here for wellness and getting people moving their bodies and getting them outside. So anything along those lines that can give folks that avenue, whether it's something new, something old that they're bringing back into their lives. One of my little slogans is find a source of movement that brings you joy.
Welcome to In Brown County, your front porch to the people, places, and stories that make Brown County, Indiana, one of a kind. I'm your host, Chris Schneider, and every week, we bring you conversations with local voices, behind-the-scenes looks at events, and the best of small-town life. Whether you're a longtime local or a weekend wanderer, there's something here for you. Let's get into it. Today, I'm joined by Erica Weddle of Simply Fitness, which is a organization that does a whole bunch of different stuff with paddleboarding and yoga and personal training, I think, but I can't remember it all off the top of my head. So Erica, go ahead. Thank you so much for being here. Fill us in a little bit on what you do.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So I'm a personal trainer, yoga and paddleboard instructor. I also offer a hands-on modality called assisted stretch. And additionally, I created a women in business collective here locally in Brown County. Been doing all this in totality for about 10 years now.
So we're going to get into all that as we go through our conversation today. But to start with, I know you are a lifelong resident of Brown County.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit about the story for how your family ended up here, why you still live here, and kind of why you think this is a great place to have a business.
Oh, there's lots of whys. I mean, first of all, look at our backdrop. Yellowwood State Forest. It's kind of my backyard, but also my studio for a lot of things that I offer. My parents came here from the Columbus area a gazillion years ago, so I'm literally born and raised, and literally as native as it gets to Brown County. So my joke is like, if you want to know anything about anyone, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, I probably know. You probably don't want to know. But here I am. There's been some times in my life, bugs in my face, that I thought I might move somewhere else and explore other areas, but I've decided that I think being here is home, and we have the opportunity to travel any day of the week. I do like to explore, whether that's different towns, different states, and even eventually different countries. I don't know. I've been to a few other countries, but yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. So you mentioned a number of the things that Simply Fitness does, but let's break that down a little bit, because you say things like assisted stretch.
Right.
Hey, I don't even know what that one is. And, with paddleboarding, what kind of things are you doing within these different areas?
Okay, awesome. So personal training was really the first certification, if you will, that I had. I actually come from a background of social services and nonprofit agencies and decided to make a shift. And the personal trainer certificate was my first step into this wellness field. I thought maybe I would just stick it in my back pocket and go teach at the YMCA or something along the lines. And then it just initially rolled right into my own business. I had people asking me personally, like, hey, will you come teach me? Will you come show me how to lift weights or whatever it may be? And everything just fell into place after that. My next, certification was the yoga training, which again, just kind of naturally fell into place with all my offerings. As I moved forward, I decided that I wanted to add paddleboarding and paddleboard yoga, which, don't freak out, we are anchored whenever we're on the boards practicing yoga. And yes, you can do this. Everybody's bodies can do this. I teach the type of yoga that is seated or kneeling or lying down. So you never have to stand when you're on a paddleboard with me, regardless if you're doing just a traditional paddleboard 101 session or if you're practicing yoga. So that was like the third certification that I received. My love for nature and being outdoor is what really drew me to the paddleboard element of my business. Because again, this is my office, spring, summer, and fall.
Well, and talking about paddleboard, that's really popped up in the last, probably 10 years?
Yeah.
It's
like all the other trends, it starts
Yeah.
in the West. Think California, Hawaii, lots of water, and then eventually made its way to more of the Midwest, and especially here in Indiana. There's a few other people around me that offer this, but as far as where I am in Brown County, I'm the only person, and really kind of the donut towns, the only other opportunity would be like down at Lake Monroe.
And because you do so many different things, is there one of those that you personally enjoy the most
I get this question a
versus
lot.
everything else?
Yeah. This is hard to answer because I love everything that I offer. I'm here for wellness and getting people moving their bodies
Mhm.
and getting them outside. So anything along those lines that can give folks that avenue, whether it's something new, something old that they're bringing back into their lives. One of my little slogans is find a source of movement that brings you joy. So whether that's riding a bicycle, swimming, paddleboarding, jogging, or what have you, most of that is done outside. But of course, we can do that inside of a gym or a YMCA or your basement, whatever platform you want to use. So as far as all the things that I offer, I don't really have a favorite because they all have like a season. If you really think about it, obviously we can do any and all of the opportunities all year long. Like I even paddleboarded in the middle of the winter. Just depends on the temperature, obviously ice, those type of things on the water. But all of them bring me joy in a different way and in a different season.
I just have to ask, paddleboarding in winter
Yes.
seems like something most people would not want to do because that requires a lot of balance. And the second you fall off, that's going to be really cold.
So here's the skinny on balance. Balance is strength. So the stronger that you are, regardless of what you're doing to gain strength in your body, the stronger that you are, the more balanced that you are. And you probably have found that, like with age, changing of workouts, maybe a new and different activity that would bring you more strength, that's going to be stability in the body from head to toe. So people think, especially on a paddleboard in the winter, when you fear more about falling off, is core strength. Yes, it takes core strength. But honestly, if you're standing, you're going to be engaging your toes, feet, and ankles all the way up through the crown of your head. So it's kind of a full body workout that you're gaining strength, which is your balance.
So just practice a little bit that it's okay in winter. Now with that, because you do, sticking on the paddleboarding for a second, because you do teach a lot of beginners.
Oh, yeah.
How hard is it to get that initial balance to actually learn? Because I feel like a lot of folks, and honestly, probably myself included in this, haven't tried it yet because they're like, yeah, that looks like it's really difficult. And I don't want to just fall off this board all day long.
So I get a lot of new people. I've had actually 2 bachelorette parties over the last couple weeks, and majority of them have never paddled before, and they wanted to try this as something new. Some of them were actually trying to add new and different forms of strength training or body movement in their daily lives. So they actually created this event to come do this because they wanted to be more mobile. But with that being said, newbies, again, I'm going to talk you through it. I'm going to show you how to sit or kneel or stand if you choose. So everybody has options. And again, I've had all age ranges as young as like 8-year-olds, 81-year-olds. And that person was a male who stood the whole time. Go figure. But he was also a very active 81-year-old man. I'm going to teach everything, options for you that make it paddleboarding as accessible as really it can be for anyone.
Awesome. So that's because I never really, the sitting and the kneeling make a lot of sense.
Yes.
But not anything I had ever thought about.
Yep.
You just see people stand up and do it.
Right. And again, I have even taken the word stand out of, we think of SUP, stand up paddleboard, SUP, what's up, that type of thing. But any of my narratives, any of my promotional material, what have you, the way I speak about that service is simply paddleboarding because I don't want people to think that they have to stand.
Now let's get into something else that you do, because I know you had mentioned you do assisted stretch, which I have no clue what that is, and I imagine a lot of people listening don't either.
So I kind of fell across it from my personal trainer certificate because I needed some continuing education. And I realized this is something that works well for people that maybe it's before or after a workout, or maybe it's before or after a long plane ride, a long car ride, or they're just generally needing to get a little bit deeper into their own personal stretches and or workouts. Literally assist you in what probably looks like some of the same movements that you may or may not be doing, whether you're exploring yoga or you're doing your own stretching before and after a run or a workout or what have you. And because again, I'm literally maneuvering you through those stretches. There's a lot of breath in that. I'm going to remind you to breathe. I even have it written on my arm. Just got to hand that out to people every once in a while. Don't forget to breathe.
Yeah. Breathing is always good, right? So moving a little bit from what you do exactly, because I'm really curious, because we're going to get into here in a little bit networking and some other things that you do, but what has it been like building a business in Brown County? Do you feel like Brown County has been different than if you were doing business in another place?
Anything otherwise, because I've been here my whole life. I feel because I am native and I know a lot of people that it might have been a tad easier, but that also might be a strong term or word because I do know a lot of people and vice versa. But that's, I think, been helpful obviously in addition to things like social media, which is really the new word of mouth. But because I do know lots of people, that word of mouth is still truly just like me and you doing this today and talking
Right.
about things. And so that's probably been a benefit from being a native to start my own business in the same town that I've lived in my whole life.
For sure. And when we look at business in Brown County, you essentially said that it might have been a little easier for you because you knew the community.
Right.
And I think one of the things that I see repeatedly throughout, whether we're talking about nonprofits in the county, for-profit businesses, any of it, is this strong sense of community. And I know when we had talked before, you had mentioned that there's kind of a sense of community over competition. So let's talk about that a little bit, because I think that's really unique to Brown.
Right. So especially because I run my Women in Business Collective, which is essentially a group of women-owned small businesses, either in Brown County or our little donut towns or cities around us. And that mission is obviously networking, getting together, but also education and exploring their brick and mortars. Because there's a lot of people that are like, oh, I didn't know we had a candle shop here. Oh, I didn't even know there was a yoga studio here, like things like that. And so anytime that we can get together and chat about that and learn about other people's businesses, that's a huge part of community over competition, because now I can refer you to a plumber or whatever it may be that you're in need of, because I've been made aware of it in this group. One of the biggest things about community over competition is we are a small town. There may be some duplications, there may be not, but I think one of the great things about being here is just that general feel of not trying to compete over another restaurant or another candle shop or a t-shirt shop, whatever it is if we can collectively be more of a community and less about competition, it increases that referral rate. Like I was mentioning, like if you need a plumber, I'm going to tell you where to go, that type of thing. And so if we can look at that through a community over competition lens versus like, oh, well, she practices yoga, like I feel I collaborate with so many other people in our community that might be that completely different than what I'm provided, or maybe something more wellness oriented, because that's also bringing two target audiences, like current, already in place audiences. So like Susie Q's regulars, Simply Fitness's regulars coming together. And then that's just more people learning and knowing and being able to access whatever we deliver, whatever our services are.
It's interesting because you mentioned candle shop, and that just had me thinking about how many candle shops are there in town. I think there's what, 3 of them?
Good question.
I mean, there's
I
multiple.
should know this.
But there are multiple candle
Right.
shops. I know that one at least. You would think that, in most markets, these folks would have to be in competition with each other. We have the benefit in some of this community over competition of just having tourists, of having people that are coming in from the outside, right? Because there's no way. I mean, the 15,000 people that live in the county, great people, wonderful people.
But they're not all shopping in town.
Oh,
Yeah.
we 15,000 people, we couldn't support anything going on in town by ourselves.
Definitely a tourist-driven, I guess not economy, but there's another word I'm trying to think of as far as commerce or what have you in our town. So for someone like me, I have regular clients, but I also get, like I was talking about those bachelorette parties.
Yeah.
They're from out of town. I've had 2 of those in the past week. They've found me on social media or just the good old internet, like Google. And because they're coming here, they're looking for things to do, places to stay, places to eat, places to shop. Thanks to our visitor center, that's a big key of getting people the knowledge of where they can go and do the things.
Well, and that also comes back to your point of recommendations and knowing each other and being able to point people in directions, because that bachelorette party that's in from out of town, they know nothing about what's going on beyond what you can find on Google. And as much as I may be trying to change this, not everything in this county is on the internet very well. And so even Google sometimes is not a great resource.
Yeah, because if it's not updated, then that you might miss out on something.
Now, let's talk a little bit more about the networking group. So I know it's called Mix, Mingle, and Manifest. And if I'm not mistaken, you've been doing it about 4 years and you now have over 160 members.
Right. So I have 160 plus women on the list of, I call it my invite list, because obviously not all 160 women come at once. I have a much lower average, if you will, but that is the great thing about that is you can come when you come, and you can, if you can't make it for so many months in a row, that's totally fine. Right now we're doing it quarterly. That's going to look a little bit different going into 2026. I also offer a bigger, longer 1-day event in the wintertime that's more of a retreat-like style where we have several speakers surrounding subjects that those women are desiring. So if they want to learn more about SEO or other marketing avenues, where to buy t-shirts, that type of thing. We've had lawyers come and talk about the things we don't want to talk about, like what happens if we get sick or we pass away and we have a business. So we need some paperwork surrounding that. So legality, lots of money talk. So we've had bookkeepers, things like that, people that come, people that work in the field of investing, because that's a lot of things that unfortunately women aren't as, I guess, savvy in the sense that we don't know, we're a little scared maybe sometimes to look more into things like that are touchier subjects, scarier subjects.
And am I correct in thinking this year your whole theme for everything is that finance
Yes.
side of it?
So this year, all of our events have been surrounding investing.
Okay. And since it's quarterly, have you already done your summer one, or is that coming up?
We have one in July, and then we'll have another one in September, and then those will be the last two for the
Okay.
year.
And we'll make sure we'll talk in a little bit, but we'll make sure everybody has access to how to get involved there. If you want to, you can either scroll down, look in the show notes, or just keep listening, and we'll talk about it here in a second on how to get in touch with Mingle and Manifest and Simply Fitness. But before we get there, a couple more questions I have for you. If you had the ability to change one thing about owning a business in Brown County, like if you had a magic wand,
Magic wand. I use that a lot in talking to people about business structures. If you had a magic wand, well, that comes back from, again, I used to work in social services and nonprofit agencies. And so that we asked things like that with people. You're wanting to make change, set some goals, what have you. If you had this magic wand, what would it look like? I really enjoy what I'm doing, regardless, like the highs and lows. But what I would have to say that sometimes I get a little bit tired of is just simply the hustling. And that is whether it's marketing, social media, marketing, emails, t-shirts, signage, whatever it is, however your formats roll out to get your business out there in the faces of the people. Sometimes I just have to take a big, long breath and remind myself, like, it's not always about the hustle. But I do say that that's probably one of the most tiring things.
I couldn't agree more because it's a lot of times it can feel like you're spending all your time
Hustling,
trying to just get people to do what you actually want to do and you're good at, right? And so then you have to do all that marketing and sales that I know there are salespeople that like it, but I don't understand.
I don't necessarily dislike it, but sometimes you can just get a little bit tired because most of my services could be looked two different ways. It could be looked at as health and wellness and preventative health care, which is obviously the way I look at it and the way I like to teach it to other people. Some people might look at my services as more of a frivolous expenditure. So like, oh, I couldn't afford that. That's not in my budget right now, which I totally respect. I look at things all day long on social media and think, not in the budget right now, but maybe next year I could plan to go to that event or what have you. And so I like to educate on how your money's going to be well spent when it comes to a more of a health and wellness aspect to what I deliver, regardless of the fact that it might be hustling.
But one more thing too that I just thought about while you were saying that, and I think it's really true of just Brown County in general, because of how much nature there is here, because of how much time people spend outside. I have never lived in a place with more people over 80 that are still out here.
Yeah, still getting outside.
Like, going to town, you get
more and more people are moving here. We're kind of jokingly called like a retired community because let's face it, we are to a certain extent, but there's still people like one of my daughters, they're posted up here. They don't have any plans to leave. And she's a realtor and she's like wants to try to encourage more people like herself that graduate from here and try to still stay in this area because their love of slowness, a smaller community, everyone knows everyone, which could be good, bad, or ugly again. And obviously nature. That's why people come. That's why people stay. That's why people don't leave, like myself.
No, there's definitely something special here.
Right.
But because we're getting a little towards the end of our time, I got 3 quick questions for you that I ask everybody towards the end of every show. First one is, what is one word that describes Brown County to you?
Well, this one was easy. Home. Yep. Yeah, home.
What is a favorite local meal or treat?
This one was rough too, because we have so many new and different places
We do.
to eat or to snack or to get a sweet treat or what have you. I really don't have a favorite because there's just too many options. I love coffee. There's a lot of new coffee spots.
There are.
I'm going to say go do like a coffee flight, like a trail or something. Like go do all the coffee spots just because we have some new and different ones.
Am I wrong in thinking like 4 years ago there was like maybe 2 and now there's about 6?
Tried 2 years ago. Like just in the last 2 years, we've had, I think, 3 more pop up.
Yeah.
So.
And they're all good.
Yes.
So I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you like coffee, come here, walk
Yeah.
around the local coffee shops, drink coffee.
Maybe get some decaf in between, but.
Yeah, you probably will.
Yeah.
Get 'em all. And final question for you. What is your favorite way to spend a Saturday here?
The water.
Can't blame you for that.
Yeah, on the water. Case closed.
Well, fantastic. So before I let you go, how can people get in contact with you? How can they learn more about Simply Fitness and about Mix, Mingle, and Manifest?
My website is probably the best one-stop shop for everything that I offer. And I really just kind of tell people that's where you need to go. So basically, it's simplyfitnessyoga.com, which is pretty easy. Simplyfitnessyoga.com. Obviously, I have social medias for my personal and the business pages as well. But you can find all that on my website.
So if you're listening or if you're watching us on YouTube, if you just scroll down into the show notes, we'll have the link to Simply Fitness there and the link to the Simply Fitness social media. So you can just scroll down, click it, and get in contact with Erica right away. But with that, thank you so much for being here. This has been a great conversation. Really enjoyed it.
Yay!
Cool. We're done.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us on In Brown County. If you liked today's episode, be sure to follow, leave a review, and share with someone who loves Brown County as much as you do. We'll see you next week, right here on the front porch.